Ho, ho, ho! Welcome back to Rewind with the Living Dead. I'm Damon Martin.
And bah humbug, I'm Patrick Guerra.
And Patrick, we are returning with our holiday-themed horror film series. We try to do this every single year. I think we opened, if I'm not mistaken, years ago with Gremlins. We've done
Yeah, I think so.
Silent Night, Deadly Night, and I can't. Is that we've done another? Well, we did Black Christmas, of course.
Black Christmas, yeah.
Yeah, and of course now we are doing Krampus, which was kind of weird timing because obviously we got Nosferatu opening on Christmas, but that episode technically won't drop till a few days later. So we said, hey, we got an open week. Let's talk about one of what is I think has become one of the most beloved Christmas themed horror films, Krampus.
Damon, it is beginning to look a lot like Krampus, starring David Koechner as Howard, Allison Tolman as Linda, Conchata Ferrell as Aunt Dorothy, Krista Stadler as Omi, Stephanie Levy Owen as Beth, Toni Collette, the great Toni Collette as Sarah, the great Adam Scott as Tom, and MJ Anthony as Max, as you mentioned, Damon, written by Todd Casey, Michael Dougherty, Zach Shields, directed by Michael Dougherty. Damon, with a budget of only $15 million, because you know how horror they got to slash the budgets, with a worldwide gross of $61 million, Krampus was no slouch at the box office.
This was one of those movies that has kind of become just like a beloved, because it's PG-13, so it's a little bit more accessible, so it's not like a hard, when we were reviewing Silent Night, Deadly Night, we were like, this movie is really messed up. Like, this is
fucked up, bro.
yeah, this is a messed up movie. And Black Christmas, of course, is also equally messed up.
Very
This
dark.
this is a movie, like, I would imagine you could share this with your kids. Like, this is but now, to be fair, this movie does go hard at moments, harder than I thought it would as a PG-13 movie, but this is ultimately a PG-13 horror film that is fun. There are some, moderately scary moments, great acting, some great comedy in there, really good cast. And it's just one of those films that's kind of beloved by everybody. Like, yes, the horror community loves it, but it's also kind of like a universally beloved Christmas kind of scary movie.
This probably is no shock to you, Damon, but audiences might know I'm not a big Christmas guy at all. And I'm even less of a Christmas horror guy. There's a couple of special ones out there. I think Gremlins like right at the top of that list. But I'm never like excited to watch a horror movie, Christmas horror movie, excuse me. And Krampus, I have never seen before. I knew it existed. I knew it was out there, but I hadn't messed with it. And when you threw this out there for Christmas, I go, yeah, why not? Why not do something like in the spirit that seems like it's fun? I've never heard bad things about this movie. And then it turns out in the last couple of years, my kids and my family and I, like, we actually go to Krampus Fest here in town. They have one on the other side of town, and we go to that. Like, Krampus is kind of a thing around here, Damon. Are you a Christmas guy yourself? Like, do you love Christmas movies?
I do not. I'm not a big Christmas guy. I have two Christmas films that I will watch, or I'll say three Christmas films that I will indulge upon during Christmas season. Love Actually, which I think is actually a pretty funny movie. I admit,
Okay.
and that's like an R-rated, like it's actually like a little bit harder core. It's not like a just a PG movie. I think I do enjoy National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I think that's like universally
One of the best.
beloved. And then the best Christmas movie of all time, of course, Die Hard. Those are pretty much the only Christmas movies I indulge. And like yourself, I'm not a big Christmas horror fan. Like the one I saw as a kid, the one that haunted me as a kid was Silent Night, Deadly Night because of the image on the front of the VHS cover with Santa's arm coming out of the chimney with an axe. That forever will stick with
Such
me.
a
Like
cool cover.
I remember seeing that. It had in the video store. It had like the old big clamshell case, and I always remember that when I used to go to the video
Yep.
store. And I remember having to see that movie. But I'm not either, and I'm not a big Christmas guy. People are listening to this podcast like, Jesus Christ, you guys sound cheerful as fuck right now. I'm not a big Christmas guy either, and I'm definitely not a big like our buddy Justin Slasher Talk on TikTok. He did a whole series, 25 days of Christmas horror films, and I watched every one because I love Justin. I love what he does over there. I had seen a few of those. I'd not seen many, but I was just like, I gotta be honest, like I'm probably not gonna watch most of these because I'm just not a big Christmas themed horror person. unless it goes hard like Black Christmas and Silent Night, Deadly Night. And I think Gremlins qualified because we kind of grew up with that one. You know, we grew up, I mean, that was a
Yeah.
movie you and I both loved as kids. So Krampus was a slightly different experience because this is a very beloved Christmas horror film that I just never sought out before.
Are you a Michael Dougherty guy? Do you like Trick or Treat? Are you into that?
I do really enjoy Trick or Treat. That is a really fun movie. I do really enjoy that. Now I'm not as obsessed as some people are with that one. Like some people think that's the
Yeah, I don't
greatest
love it.
anthology ever made. I enjoyed it. It was fine. But I'm not.
That was
But I think I
okay.
said this. I thought when we did our VHS Beyond episode, funny enough, with our buddy Justin and our friend Chuck, he wants to be your movie guy. When we did that one, I said I'm just not a big anthology guy. I said that on the
Yeah.
podcast, and that kind of stands true. I'm just not a big anthology guy. I like one kind of through line for a story. I'm not a big like let's pack four short stories into one film. It just doesn't appeal to me that much.
Now I'm going to put you on the spot here, Damon. What about just, you know, I love Scrooged. I don't know if like it's necessarily to me like some people, of course takes place during Christmas, but like Vacation, great example. Christmas Vacation's a full classic. Do you have any like, some new movies that I love for Christmas? How about the Holdovers with Paul Giamatti? Have you seen
That's a great
that?
movie. That was one of
Oh
my
my
favorite films
God.
of last year. That was a really good film. Yeah, that was a really good one.
Yeah, so it's just like, I know you mentioned a couple like horror films, but I guess my point was, did you have any other Christmas movies that you were really into? Because they're out there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like just movies that take place at Christmas, I suppose. Like I said, I mean, The Holdovers is a great example of that. I know a lot of people get up in arms when you say Die Hard or even Die Hard 2 because they take place at Christmas. But like the reason I say those movies are because I just don't traditionally like Christmas films. Like I don't like
I
I'm
just
not gonna
didn't
lie
like
and say like
Christmas growing up.
there's a movie there's a comedy called Four Christmases with Vince Vaughn that's pretty funny and I'll occasionally catch that around because it's more of like it feels like a Vince Vaughn comedy that just happens to be at Christmas, so it's kind of funny and I do enjoy that one. But like I don't know, like we saw an advertisement. I was watching TV with my girlfriend tonight. We were watching Amazon Prime and they did an advertisement for Jingle All the Way, the Arnold Schwarzenegger Christmas
Oh yeah,
movie.
right.
And she's like, "Oh, I always wanted to see that." And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't. I never wanted to see that. Like, I didn't." So
I
I was
don't
like,
think I've ever seen it. I still to this
yeah,
day because it's like a Christmas movie. Like, well, I
yeah.
wouldn't care.
I'm trying to think of like what other movies just take place at Christmas though. Yeah, you got me at The Holdovers. That's a good example. I'm trying to think of other movies that just take place at Christmas. You know what I did see? Actually, you know what I did see? The new movie on Netflix, Carry On, the one with Taron
Oh right,
Egerton.
is that a Christmas movie?
It takes place during Christmas. It's kind of like
Okay,
Die Hard. It takes place during
sure.
great great adventure, great action adventure movie. It has Jason Bateman in it and it has Taron Egerton in it. Really fun. It's like a modern-ish Die Hard. Like it's not really a Christmas movie, but it kind of takes place at
Hey,
Christmas. Fun.
sounds like
That's where
fun.
you'll get me. Like, and I know people get up in arms about the Die Hard thing, but like that's where you're gonna get me. Like, it takes place at Christmas. That's kind of like as far as I go in because
Yeah.
generally speaking, like if you just show me a Christmas themed movie, I'm like, yeah, pass. So I had never seen Krampus. I've just never been. It's just not a movie that I was like, ooh, and it's not for any reason that I dislike the movie or dislike the filmmaker or anything like that. It's just not a movie I would seek out.
I love the opening of this movie, kind of for the same reasons that we're babbling on about here with Christmas being not our favorite time of year. The opening of this movie, I think the song is "It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas." Is it that one?
I
I
believe
can't
you're right.
remember. It's opening on this very classic Christmas song, which, by the way, I also hate Christmas music. It's playing, and they're showing this chaos of all these people fighting over Christmas deals at a store in slow motion. It's almost like the opening credits of Zack Snyder's Watchmen or some shit. It's like real like these beautiful slow motion vignettes of Christmas violence, and with that irony of tone, with that song going over the top of it. I go, okay, they're setting my kind of mood here. They're setting the mood for people who maybe fucking can't stand Christmas. But we meet in the very beginning of this movie this kid named Max. This kid named Max, sweet fucking kid. He's going around the house. He's enthusiastic about Christmas. I think there was something going on with he wanted certain kids to think about like still believe in Santa. Um, like this kid gave a shit. Like he really had some Christmas spirit in a very earnest way, not in like an annoying or weird way. And like any good Christmas holiday movie, which Damon probably hits close to yours and mine heart, when family comes over for Christmas, it starts to fucking suck. And Krampus is no different.
It's funny because, and also you forgot to mention the opening when Max gets into a fight with another kid during the Christmas
That's
play.
right. Yeah, that was yeah.
That was the Santa thing. He's like, this kid wanted to tell him there was no Santa, and he just got into a fight with a kid. I was like, that's pretty funny. So not to get like super personal or anything here, but I'm very much estranged with my family and have been for many years. So I don't really have a relationship with my family. I have family out there somewhere, but I'm kind of like Robert De Niro in Heat when he's talking to his new girlfriend. He's like, I can tell you I have a tight family. He's like, what about you? And he's like, my mom died a long time ago. My father's out there somewhere. I got a brother somewhere. Like that's like, you know what I'm talking about? When Robert De Niro's just like, my dad's out there somewhere.
He's
my
like
brother's
rifling
out there
off shit.
Yeah, he's just like, whatever. Like that's me. I don't have a relationship with my family. So seeing that, I'm not trying to be cruel or anything, but like seeing that opening scene of the family showing up, I'm just like, these are the moments where I'm like glad I don't have a family because that just looks like pure. Like we talk about nightmare fuel. Like I saw somebody on TikTok recently did like I think it was our friend Gigi. She did a sit down watching Martyrs, and I was like, that's a movie that I love, but I don't necessarily want to see it a bunch of times because it's so utterly disturbing. Like the idea of my family coming over for Christmas, that's my Martyrs. I'm like, this is a nightmare to me. This is a nightmare fuel.
Oh my God. That's how I feel too. And I guess, you know, to the point is like, I think a lot of people feel like that. And so I appreciated that Krampus kind of opened that way. Cause I was like, yeah, I get it. That's how we all fucking feel. Like, I think we're all like grinning and bearing it when we have to be around our family in the holidays. But Max, he wants to believe. But as soon as the family collides, her sister and her brother, his mom's brother-in-law, they come in and they're obnoxious and their kids are obnoxious. And then they tow with them Aunt Dorothy. And believe me, Aunt Dorothy's double the obnoxious. And it's just bringing the whole mood down. The whole thing's crashing to a halt. And Max, in all that frustration, and I was there as a kid because I think I wanted to have a nice normal life, but my family just couldn't. They had to make chaos. So every Christmas was miserable for me because of that. I felt Max in that moment because he was like, God damn, he's like, fuck all this shit. He took his letter to Santa that him and his Omi, his grandma, were going to send off to the North Pole earnestly, right? He wants to believe. He knows it's fake, but he loves the spirit of it all. And he's going to go send that letter off. All this chaos crashing down in his house. He's like, you know what? Fuck it. The holidays indeed are fucking miserable. I mean, sing it to the hills, Damon. I've been saying that for decades. He rips up that letter to Santa, lights it on fire. It flies off into the ether, Damon. And then a storm comes rolling in. And this is when it starts to become something you'd more likely hear on a podcast like Rewind of the Living Dead.
What's funny, I just realized this because, again, I've not seen Krampus until about, 4 nights ago, and so I'm not super familiar. But as we're talking about it, and you're mentioning the family coming over, the kind of obnoxious, brother-in-law, and that side of the family's a little poor. They talk about how they don't have a lot of money, and, they're all – I didn't even realize this, and I read some interviews with Michael Dougherty talking about this film for when it came out in 2015 to do research for the podcast. But I never heard him reference how much this movie was influenced by Christmas Vacation because in a lot of ways,
you feel
it's kind of the same premise. Like it's the, where Clark is the over enthusiastic, like, I want my family here. This is a great tradition, Christmas. And it kind of gets drained out of him by the end of that movie.
It's a classic fucking movie.
That is Max in this movie. He starts out his enthusiasm gets drained way quicker, but it's kind of the same thing where like you got the kind of like the wrong side of the tracks part of the family coming over to the more well-to-do side of the family. They got the obnoxious kids. They got the dog, which of course they also had a dog in Vacation. I never realized the similarities. I'm not saying it's like a totally unique story of like, a miserable family getting together, but
you could feel you could feel it in the DNA of it all.
there's a lot of Griswold in this. Is all I'm saying. Like there's a lot of Griswold
Yeah.
DNA in this movie. I never until we started talking about it, I didn't quite realize it. But yeah, so like I like the premise of the movie. It's very simple. And they don't take a lot of time getting there. You know, you're probably what 20, maybe 15, 20 minutes in the movie when he tears up. He's basically, and don't forget his weird cousins who are who their dad really wanted boys, so like one of them's in wrestling, the other one's in lacrosse, and like they find a letter and they start reading it at the Christmas table.
Yeah, they embarrass him, you know.
And Max is embarrassed, and so he goes and he's like pissed off. He rips it up, chucks it out the window. He's like, "Fuck this holiday." And then, of course, the snow comes in, giant snowstorm. Lights get shut out. The whole neighborhood shuts down. And when I think her name is Beth, the sister goes out to go find her boyfriend, she sees this horned creature on the rooftops, kind of lingering
It's a great
around.
shot. It's
And
such a
that's
cool
where
shot.
it is. It is a really, really cool shot, and that's where we are officially introduced to the Krampus. And one thing I really like about this movie, while I'm sure some people say it's a little too slow because it takes a while, you don't really get to the true menacing of the family. I mean, there's bits and pieces, obviously, like when the dad and the brother-in-law go out and search for Beth, and that the creature.
Yeah, it's a slow build.
The creature grabs him under the snow and drags him away, and he has to shoot it, and then they get back to the house. But like the actual creatures don't invade the house until 45 minutes into the movie. Like you have to wait a little while to get there.
Yeah.
But I appreciated the slow build of getting there. Like they kept ratcheting up the tension. You know something's going to happen. You know this thing is outside. You're just waiting for it to get there. And the way it gets there initially is the chain coming down the chimney with a gingerbread
Oh
man
my
on
God.
it. Like it's just a very unique kind of creative way to get into it.
Yeah, he's like fishing for a kid, and he snags one, and you're like, holy shit! And he's getting like sucked up into the chimney, and I was like, yeah, this movie's basically a kid's movie, but like when it goes hard, it goes hard. It didn't need like blood, guts, and gore. It's just like, no, like I really appreciated that about this movie, where it was like the kids aren't safe. The kids are and the kids are not safe. Like immediately, they lose the daughter, and you.
And I'll be honest, like when the movie started, and because I knew it was PG-13, and you know my opinion of PG-13 horror, immediately I was like, no one's really going to be in peril. That was my initial thought.
Right.
I was wrong.
Yeah, like everybody's
wrong.
safe. Yeah,
I was like,
no.
they're all going to get close, but nobody's actually going to get in trouble because it's a PG and there's kids. Like like that's where you like an R-rated hardcore horror film would take out the kids, but like a PG-13 film. To their credit, though, they do. Like, I was like, damn, like, they actually went kind of hard. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just like, I was surprised because I thought I totally had it pegged. Like, they're going to put them all kind of in peril, but then they're going to get away. Didn't happen.
No, that's why I immediately latched onto this movie because it subverted those expectations right away. My expectations were, yeah, he's gonna scare everybody, and no one will really be in danger, right? Like, no, people are like in grave danger. They just don't use blood and guts and all that. But like, one kid gets eaten by a fucking Jack-in-the-Box worm, and like fully out of like Dream Warriors kind of nightmare fuel. Like multi-teethed and jawed fucking weirdo shit. And you're just like, he's eating that kid in front of his mom. And then he's scurrying away like it's a goddamn Hellraiser sequel.
And I mean, don't forget, like the one thing, like the angel jumps on Adam Scott's back, it's fucking stabbing him with a knife.
Yeah.
Like I was stunned at how like kind of hardcore it went. I did not see that coming because I was expecting they're going to scare him here, they're going to scare him there. Everyone's going to
like Disney horror.
They're going to learn the value of Christmas, but no one's. When the kid gets on the hook and they literally start lifting him up through the chimney, I was like, okay, shit's getting real here.
Shit's getting real, and and the family dynamic, of course, of this terrible Christmas dinner has ruptured everything, and it kind of gets rebuilt as the family sticks together to try and find kids, and by the way fail at it miserably. Like they just keep losing people. They don't end up finding people. They're very much outgunned. It's that's another thing. Like another subversion of expectations would be, oh, but they'll be able to fight these guys. They kind of just get their asses kicked like for most of the movie.
Yeah, like even the crazy brother-in-law who has like a stockpile of weapons in the back of his Humvee, which by the way, if you're a lower income family, maybe owning a Humvee isn't the best idea. Just throwing that out there as
You
like a
know,
side mission here.
you'd
But yeah,
think.
he has a cache of weapons. He's a hunter, and then which is funny because they make Adam Scott's character seem like he's kind of like the wuss, like
Yes.
I don't. They never say what his job is. He travels a lot. He's in business of some kind, but he's kind of a button down, kind of
Yeah.
well-to-do dude. But then you find out early on, like they kind of make fun of him for being an Eagle Scout, and he's like, "Hold on now, Eagle Scout, you learn some survival shit." And so like he kind of has to take over, whereas the other brother-in-law, David is it Keckner or Kochner's character?
Yeah.
He's kind of like the braggadocious. I'm a hunter. I got guns in the
Yeah.
back of my car.
Survivalist.
And he's the one who actually ends up kind of like has to run for his life a little bit, and it's actually Adam Scott who kind of ends up being the protector in a way. I did like that dichotomy a little bit because you kind of realize like what they don't pigeonhole the characters, I guess is what I'm getting at. Like they don't just make them prototypical characters that you can identify. Much like I said, the plot when I originally just watched this movie, it opened. I was like, okay, we're gonna get the Krampus scaring them. It's gonna scare them, and they're gonna get away. They're gonna keep getting away, and then there's gonna be a big climax. But at the end, they're gonna be like, oh, we learned the true value of Christmas. I totally thought that's where we were going. Now, in a way, we get there, and we'll talk about the ending at one point or another in this podcast. But the fact that there was actual danger and like stakes, I didn't see that coming. Like when Beth disappeared at the beginning, she was the first like clue something was going on. When she goes out into the snow, she goes looking for her boyfriend, and then she goes under the van and she sees the Krampus like right there. My thought, again, this is my own hubris, feeling like I knew where this movie was going. I thought they were going to go looking for her, and she was going to run in the house all scared and say, I don't know what something's out there.
There's a monster.
We never see her again until like the whole, at the very end of the movie. Like she's gone. Like the Krampus just full on fucking got her. Which again, I didn't see that coming. I thought she was going to make the dramatic reappearance in the house and be like, "There's something in there, something out there, Mom and Dad," and everyone arms up and gets freaked out. But no, she's just gone.
Talk about another subversion of expectations, Damon. When you have a Toni Collette in your movie, you just figure Christmas movie, everybody needs to be heroic. Toni Collette is clearly going to be the one that comes out on top, right? Wrong. It's the one thing I don't like about this movie is the underutilization of Toni Collette. She has basically the B story where she's just kind of arguing with her sister because they live these two different and radical lives and their lives are so different. I feel like they wasted her. And by the way, Allison Tolman, who plays her sister, she's a great actor too. I like watching her and stuff. But you got Toni fucking Collette on set, and she does take a back seat. And like that, that's a criticism that I'm just kind of coming with off the cuff because I hadn't really thought about it until now about how she truly fades into the background. She's just like a cowering woman going, "Please, like, husband, go help." Like I would never have guessed that, but that is one fault now I'm seeing with Krampus.
She's very much a supporting character, which you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially knowing how powerful Toni Collette is. And I mean, again, I'm not going to knock like the performances. I thought that when she does
it's just funny the amount of screen time was pretty low.
Yeah, like they really did kind of put Adam Scott in the lead. There's nothing wrong with that. Adam Scott's a great actor. I like Adam Scott a lot.
Love
Also,
him.
can I throw this out there because I don't know if you've watched Severance, the show on Apple TV that he's in.
I love Severance.
It was incredible, but I noticed something and I was just like, okay, I know this is a Christmas movie, but did he make a deal with the devil? Because Adam Scott has like that Paul Rudd, Sarah Michelle Gellar thing going on where they never age. Like it's really weird. Like they never get older. Like I've seen Sarah Michelle Gellar doing press because she's in that new Dexter Origin show, and I'm just like, you still look like Buffy from when I was like, when like Buffy was on like 20 years ago. You still look the same. What is going on here? This is the world. So it's like Paul Rudd, Adam Scott, and Sarah Michelle Gellar never age. I had to throw that out there.
I want to get into categories because that makes me think about what I want to talk about next.
Real quick. So obviously we're doing, I think everyone probably picked up on this way earlier. I usually say it and I didn't say it this week. We are obviously going full spoilers. I'm sure like,
oh yeah. Sorry, this movie's kind of old.
it's almost a decade old. So this is kind of getting into categories, but I do want to talk about the ending because I think what I liked most about Krampus was the unpredictability. Where, again, I didn't think there was going to be peril. There was peril. I didn't think they'd actually kidnap or harm the children. A fucking Jack in the Box eats a child. Like, there's things that I didn't see coming. At the end, MJ Anthony's Max wakes up from his bad dream. He goes downstairs and everyone's all happy and hunky-dory. And you're like, oh, it is what you kind of imagined it would be. It was the bad dream. You know, this never really happened. And
all those bad dreams. I was going to be so pissed.
And then when you see the Krampus kept him in his little snow globe and he puts it in his collection, they've been harvested and carried to hell or wherever else he's hanging out at. I loved it. It was so dark and so like foreboding, like when he's like, because you see it in his eye at the end, he's like, this is weird, like we're all happy. And then you realize like they're living in their idyllic world that lives inside of a snow globe that is now owned by the Krampus. I loved it. And that, to me, you said subversion of expectations. I'm saying unpredictability, however you want to frame it. That was the best part of this movie because for a PG-13 Christmas horror film that, again, your kids could watch it. Like, it's not ultra violent, like while a Jack in the Box doesn't eat a child.
My 7-year-old's watching supercuts of The Thing. Like, we're way past that.
Like, a creature's eating a child, but it doesn't actually like bite the child in half. You don't see like a,
right. Gore and blood and guts and spray.
There's a balancing act there. But so for what is ultimately a family film, this film actually goes pretty hard, and it kept me guessing. And I know I've said this before on the podcast, and I'll say it again now, and I admit it. I do prejudge a lot of PG-13 horror films because there's so many moments in a PG-13 horror film that are like, no one would just say, oh man, they'd be like, fuck! Like, you just know, like, certain things. And again, not even about the gore, and I just feel like there's just, you could make a great comedy as a PG-13, you could make a great drama as a PG-13. I think horror is better suited as an R-rated movie. There are good PG-13 films out there. But again, I do go in with a bit of a preconceived notion when a film is rated PG-13 and it's being sold to me as a horror film. Again, even though I know Krampus I knew going in it wasn't Silent Night, Deadly Night. But the fact that it kept me guessing and then that ending is what made the movie for me. That ending was brilliant.
This is what will solidify for me why I will champion Krampus as a great Christmas movie, is this dour fucking ending. Michael Dougherty clearly, and his friends who wrote it with him, are clearly fans of the 1980s like fantasy movies you and I grew up on. One that comes to mind is Time Bandits. Did you ever watch Time Bandits growing up?
I love Time Bandits. Absolutely.
How about the dour ending of this kid traveling through space and time with the Time Bandits, only to come home and the bad guy roasts his parents in front of him, and he realizes it was all for nothing. I loved that movie and watched it on repeat. That's the kind of endings you and I were used to. We grew up with that. Dougherty clearly grew up with that as well, because he said, no, we can't just end it like it's all a bad dream, which is totally where I thought it was going. I was like, this movie is going to absolutely eat shit on its landing. Damon, it did a double backflip twist, landed pitch perfect, and stood up straight. It said, nope, we are going to lock this child and his family in an eternal Christmas hell. Merry Christmas, everyone.
I mean, think about, like, again, there's a reason why you would think you know the ending, because every Christmas film outside of like Black Christmas, and I'm talking about like traditional Christmas films, gives you the happy ending. And I get it. Like, that's kind of the point of a Christmas film. It's supposed to make you feel good at the end. You know, it all starts with A Wonderful Life. The guy wakes up, it was never actually happening, and his family's there, and, you know, he celebrates.
Yeah.
James, is it James
biggest
Stewart?
Cop out. Jimmy Stewart, and the biggest cop out in Hollywood history.
Yeah, and then I go down the line. Like I said, even my favorite all-time Christmas film, Die Hard, John McClane always wins, and I'm fine with John McClane always winning.
I love the John McClane wins.
But like,
that's why I show up.
But I gotta admit, there are moments where I kind of root for Hans Gruber. I'm not gonna lie about that.
He's cool.
But even in those moments, you always kind of feel like you're gonna get the happy ending, right? Like, that's just kind of the point of a Christmas film. Like, and This didn't give us that. And for a movie that is surprisingly darker than you would imagine it would be and goes harder than you would imagine it could be, the fact that it leads up to this ending where you realize this family has basically been captured in this snow globe where they're going to live, I guess, in perpetual Christmas, maybe? Like, I don't, not that they need to explain it or whatever, but like they're going to live in this perpetual reality. They have been sucked in to the depths of hell, and now they're living under the Krampus' thumb along with all the other misbehaving families throughout history. That's fucked up. Like that's a messed up ending. And yeah, you can say it's a cautionary tale. Like, hey, you should not do this, or you're going to end up on the Krampus' shelf like everybody else. But you expect the other ending. You expect the bad dream, and he wakes up and he realizes. And again, I 100% thought he was going to wake up from the bad dream and he's going to find the Krampus bell, and it's going to be like, was it a dream? Was it not a dream? And that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I would have been like, yeah, I've just been like, I saw that coming. Like, I saw it. But when they reveal that it's in the Krampus' lair and it's in the snow globe, I was like, oh, man. Like, they went hard. Like, the only thing that could have gone harder than the Krampus is just like, fuck this snow globe and crushed it and killed the family.
Yeah.
That would have been the only way they could have gone harder.
I thought maybe Krampus's mask was going to come off and he was like going to devour the grandma in front of Max or something. I was like, where are we going tonight? Where are we going with this? But they went an even darker existential kind of dread where it was just like, sorry, this family's going to be locked in a perpetual Christmas hell forever in my prison and they're never getting out. That's the fucking shit I show up for. And now I'm a Krampus fan now. Like, I really am. Just by having a major fuck you ending, I have so much more respect for Michael Dougherty now that I knew that they went and stuck that landing.
Let me throw this out at you, Patrick, because you actually do have family. Imagine your family comes over for Christmas to your house, and they stay
Nightmare
forever.
1.
They stay forever.
Nightmare 1 meet Nightmare 2. Holy shit! It would be hell. It would be truly hell, right?
Yeah.
I guess the only like silver lining, maybe Dougherty and company could argue is that like, well, but in the process of going through hell with Krampus, they like learn to work together. Yeah, but they're still fucking locked in a house together forever. Yeah. It's dark. I love it.
Yeah, but again, imagine you and your family, how dark that would be.
No, Damon, no. I refuse to put such nightmares in my brain.
Yeah, don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Patrick, let's get into some categories because we do have a lot to talk about with this movie. Let's kick things off as we do each and every week. I almost feel like dirty playing this intro for this particular movie, but hey, why not?
Fuck the prime time, bitch.
It's Christmas. We're still going to say bitch on this show.
Damn right.
Welcome to Prime Bitch Best Performance. So, Patrick, when it comes to Krampus, who gets your best performance?
My best performance goes to, admittedly, one of my favorites out there, Mr. Adam Scott, who plays Tom. He plays Max's dad. This genuinely was, for me, the heart of the movie. I know for most people, they'd be like, oh, it's Max. I relate to Adam Scott's style of character that he's mostly known for, which is kind of the shrimpy nice guy. Like he's just trying to get along, and that's all. And there's always bigger, badder, louder men in front of him, and they kind of knock him over for being kind of a wimp. And that's exactly what's going on here in Krampus. Him and his brother-in-law, they're from two different worlds, but what I loved about Adam Scott's performance is he didn't play it one way where he can be kind of like douchey and pompous, and he didn't play it as a total doormat either. He managed to find this great balance with this character where he could say like, yeah, like I'm smarter and better and faster and more prepared than you. You were just louder. But he doesn't rub it in his face. He doesn't become anything more than that character actually is, which is just a good and nice human being. And Adam Scott really knew how to walk that line with it, so I had to give him best performance.
I like Adam Scott in general. Like, I'll be honest, like for all the Adam Scott movies I know I've seen over the years, he didn't really totally stand out to me until Severance. Like that was the show that I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Adam Scott is really good at this. Not that he was bad at his job or anything. I'd not, of all the work I'd seen him in, nothing totally stood out to me until I saw him in Severance. It always reminds me of that clip. Have you ever seen the Between Two Ferns clip when he was on there? And he's like, do you hear that? He's like, and what's his? Why am I? Zach Galifianakis.
Zach
Goes,
Galifianakis.
yeah, he goes. Do you hear that? And Adam Scott's like, no. He's like, it's the ovation for your performance in Big Little Lies. It was silent. It's just so messed up. But like, that's kind of like, I know it sounds terrible. That's kind of what I was like. Yeah, Adam Scott, he's here. Like that was kind of always my opinion of him. Like he wasn't bad, but he was just like, oh yeah, he's like, he's just, he's like a toilet paper roll. You just expect him to be there. He does his job, but he doesn't.
You'd
like,
miss him if he wasn't, but it's not a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. He's like a toilet paper roll. Like you'd be sad if it wasn't there, but you're not like, he doesn't really perform any other duties. Like that's all he has to do. But I thought he was great in this movie, and he actually has to like jump into hero mode, which is not a role that I would typically imagine for Adam Scott. So I thought he was great. I really thought he was great. So for me, best performance, listen, I want to give credit where credit's due because we did talk earlier this year about MJ Anthony and I think what's going to end up being one of our shared favorite shows of the year, The Great Hysteria. If you haven't seen Hysteria, go to Peacock, check it out. It is so worth your time. It is a fantastic, fantastic series. And MJ Anthony, a much older MJ Anthony is the one of the lead stars of that show. I was like, oh my God, like I recognized him from Chef, which he's also in. And you remember when we had Matthew Scott Kane on the show, he's like, I thought you were going to say Krampus. Because that's like what, he's also very well. So he did a great job. And I also like to shout out Conchata Ferrell as Aunt Dorothy. I thought she was great.
Oh, yeah.
But again, kind of a one-note character. Not a bad note, by the way. I'm just saying, like, kind of like Randy Quaid in Vacation. You don't need him to be anything more than Cousin Eddie. But also the other kind of side of the Cousin Eddie character, the one that gets my best performance, is David Koechner, or David Koechner. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Great comedic actor. He plays, of course, Howard, Uncle Howard, or brother-in-law Howard. He plays the husband. I always remember him from Anchorman. That will forever and always be the moment. Like, whenever I see him, I will think, whammy. And I will think,
oh, yeah.
and I will think, yeah, I think you and me should go out sometime, have some chicken, maybe some sex, see what happens. He will forever and always be the whammy guy from Anchorman to me. But playing the kind of braggadocious, just kind of like jock alpha male, but then he kind of gets knocked back down to size in this movie. I just like that character, and I thought, and by the way, he is definitely comedic relief in this movie. He's definitely more of a comedy actor, but he has a couple of like action moments that are pretty solid in this movie. Like when he gets grabbed under the snow, he's getting dragged away. When he's fighting the gingerbread men in the kitchen, like he actually has a couple good action scenes as well. So he went a little bit outside his depth. So I thought it was a pretty solid, just fun performance.
It was a little bit out of his typical wheelhouse where he's kind of a goofball. Like he's trying, I mean, obviously it's a lighthearted portrayal, but he's trying to play it straight where it's like he thinks he's just tougher and better than Tom. And again, and very similar to Adam Scott's situation, like they didn't go down the typical route. Adam Scott's character doesn't all of a sudden turn into a Rambo. He's an Eagle Scout, and he kind of is an Eagle Scout through that whole move. And for Rob, like his character, like he was an asshole, and I thought, oh, typical movie, he's going to double down on being an asshole until it's too late. He almost sees immediately that Tom has like valuable skills and respects him and then works with him. So you actually end up, because of that joining of forces, the sisters fight for much longer and for a storyline that's rather worthless. But when these two kind of clash heads, they almost immediately have a mutual respect, which is something else you're not expecting in a movie like this. They have a mutual respect. It doesn't take a long, drawn out time for them to go, you know what? We're in a crisis together. It's clearly working as a good 1-2 team. Let's work together all the way to our end goal. And Koechner did a great job right alongside Adam Scott, kind of playing that yin and yang.
And also, because he was kind of like the jocular alpha male character coming in, when he gets injured and they're in the house and they're like, we need one of us needs to stay up and watch. And he like turns to Tom and he's like, you take first break. I'll stay up. You've done enough. You heroically saved me. You wrapped my leg. You tended to my wound. Thank you. I'll stay up. And of course, he's the one that falls fucking asleep. And then the creature comes down and gets his son. It's perfect because he's always like, that's the line I put in the intro. He's, shepherd watches over their herd. Like he's like the super alpha male protector. And he's the one who messes up by falling asleep. And that's when the actual Krampus creatures start getting into the house. It's perfect. That character is like the guy you think of as like that jocular asshole. And yeah, kind of like a lot of jocular assholes, he fucks up. So
Yeah, he's like full of hot air, and and that's kind of the comedic side of him being really good and amplified in that moment. But he's just, you could tell he's just a blowhard. But when the shit hits the fan, and this is credit to the writing too, that character just kind of falls in line. He's like, cool, actually, I'll take Tom's lead. That's fine. Clearly, he's the guy who knows what he's doing. I'm here to help out, and it becomes a great team up, and then that allows you to like kind of keep rooting for the family. Now you don't just want to see everybody slaughtered like you did in the beginning.
absolutely, absolutely. Now, next category, Patrick, we're going to talk about best Krampus character. But can I throw out one complaint about this category,
Sure.
Patrick? One small complaint.
Sure.
Now,
Okay.
I understand throughout folklore, reading and doing research about the actual Krampus, that his minions is actually a real part of the story. Like, that's part of
Yep.
the Krampus lore, is he has these minions. But my one kind of, I guess it's not really complaint, it's more like I just wanted more, was the minions get way more screen time than the actual Krampus. We don't really see the Krampus except for that scene where he's on the rooftop and he jumps down to scare Beth, or we assume grab Beth in that moment under the van. And then we see him at the end come face to face with the grandma, and then, of course, at the very end with Max. And I'm like, he's the leader. Like, he's the ringleader. We barely get to see the Krampus. Now, the creatures were cool. Don't get me wrong. I actually really enjoyed the creatures, but I kind of wanted a little bit more Krampus. But that's just a minor thing. I was just like, because it was a really cool design, very big hulking creature. And I was like, I kind of wanted a little bit more of him. Give me like
Yeah.
5 more minutes. But again, you're absolutely right. The Krampus character. So, Patrick, what was your, I don't know if you agree or not, but what was your thought, and what was your favorite Krampus character, or favorite Krampus creature, I should say?
Well, I do agree. I could have used some more Krampus, and I definitely had thought at some point that the mask that he's clearly hiding behind was going to come off, and something real fucked up was going to happen. But that's the Krampus movie I'd make. So yeah, he did leave us wanting more, and there's actually something to be said about that as well, you know. But all those little minions of his that were around him are this great addition, because I know a little bit of the Krampus lore, but I didn't know that he could animate stuff, or if that's just something they added in for this movie. But he animates like gingerbread men and snowmen and all this weird shit. But the one that I really loved was their Christmas angel. The one that got on, that you would put on top of the tree, turns into this toothy ghoul that is like out to fucking shred you. It's like a acid version of Chucky.
It's got the little knives that jumps on Adam Scott's back and starts fucking stabbing him. I was like, oh
He's
my
like
God, we are
stabbing him
going-
in the. I was like, this is going hard.
Yeah, this is hardcore right here. Yeah, that was a pretty good one. I want, because I thought it was fun. I almost went with the gingerbread men, but unfortunately for me, much like I joked about with David Koechner, that I can't see him without thinking whammy. When I see gingerbread men, I'm not a big cartoon, I'm not a big animated movie guy, but the one animated movie I do love, and every time I see a gingerbread man, I think about this is eat me. The fucking gingerbread man from Shrek, where he says, not the buttons, not my gumdrop buttons. As soon as I saw the gingerbread man, totally took me out of the film. I started thinking about the gingerbread man from Shrek.
Not the buttons.
Not the buttons. But my favorite was the Jack in the Box worm creature, whatever, because
Oh yeah.
it was creepy as fuck. And I'm not
Disturbing.
like, yeah, it was very creepy looking, like very evil looking gesture is what it's dressed up as. But then it ate a child. And again, like when it opened its mouth, you see all these gnarly teeth. Again, it turns into like this wide mouth snake, and it actually eats a child. And you see it like going down into its gullet. I was like, that's wildly messed up. And again, they stopped short of it biting down and literally lopping the child in half. But outside of that, when they actually showed the child going into the creature's mouth and it's swallowing it, I was like, oh my God, like they are really going there. And that gesture creature was creepy as hell.
It was the part of the movie where I realized, oh, they're not fucking around. Like they want this to be right on the edge of PG-13, like as edgy as you can get, because it is this weird hell-mouthed fucking Jack in the Box that looks creepy. You know, just imagine if I said, oh, it's a clown eating a child. Like now times that by like John Carpenter's The Thing and, you know, a sandworm from Dune. Like it's fucking creepy and weird, and probably one of the more creative ones out of the whole bunch, but just something that truly felt like horror.
Yeah, and boy, do the parents get their asses kicked in that attic, man. They get the Jack in the Box gets away, the weird robot creature attacks them, the angel attacks them, the teddy bear, which is also like they should have used that teddy bear for that imaginary movie. Remember that one we reviewed?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, they should use that teddy bear. That teddy bear was far more menacing than the one in that movie. But yeah, like it was like they just got their asses kicked. Like they went up there and they're all armed up, and they go in there and they just get their asses totally handed to them. I thought that was pretty funny. And again, when Allison Tolman's character, who I love Allison Tolman, by the way, I think she's fantastic, when she's holding on to the jester's tail and you're like, she's going to save her daughter. Nope, she's not.
Sorry, kid's going to die. That's Krampus.
Again, now, if you want to make the R-rated Damon and Patrick version, much like I said, bite the child in half when the one kid gets on the hook and they drag him up through the chimney and they try to do that. The R-rated version of that is just a pool of blood comes pouring back down the chimney and splashes
the legs.
out like Shining style, like splashes out Shining style.
Don't leave out little kid legs.
That's my fucked up ending. Is like, oh my god, it's blood all over the place. Yeah, that'd be my version. Much like Biden did. People listen to this podcast right now, like, dude, I'm not bringing my children around you for Christmas. God damn.
Yeah, good to know.
Patrick, let's move on to our next category, which is best line. Now, we've talked a lot about how this film really pushes the line for like what we would consider a PG-13 movie, and to its credit, all the ways that it surprised us and kept us guessing and went much darker than we would have expected for what is ultimately a family Christmas horror film. But this is also a very funny movie. There are a lot of comedy. Like, it is a horror comedy. It is not straight up horror. It is comedy. And I think that speaks to both of our best lines. So, Patrick, let's talk about our best line from Krampus.
My best line comes from our Aunt, what's her face?
Aunt Dorothy.
Aunt Dorothy, thank you. Yeah, Aunt Dorothy. Honestly, Damon, I chose this line because when she said it out loud, I thought to myself, now that's what it would sound like if Damon Martin was in my house during the Christmas season.
100%.
Aunt Dorothy, will you keep an eye on them?
Why me? I never liked kids, even when I was one.
I was just like that. If I went to Damon, can you watch my kids? Why me? Like that's exactly what I thought you'd say.
We've been friends for many years. We've been doing a podcast for many years. I consider you one of my closest friends in the world. If you ever just decide one day that you're like, you know what, I need to cut Damon off and like we're done. And it's weird and awkward to get rid of like a male friendship.
Yeah,
like,
it's tough. Yeah,
you generally just stop calling each other and don't talk for like 5 years. But it'd be kind of hard for us. We do a podcast every week. If you ever want to get rid of me, call me one day and say, hey man, can you come over and watch my kids for a night? And I'll just change my number. And you'll be like, Damon, and that'll be the end of it. You ever
phone doesn't work. I'm calling him every day, and the phone doesn't work.
Yeah, what's going on? Are we doing the podcast this week, Damon?
Hello?
Podcast?
Hello?
Social media channels.
You'd have been so out of there. Yeah, he's gone dark all over the web. I can't find him.
What's going on? Yeah, ask me to be around your children for too long. That'll be the quickest way to do it. So Patrick, funny enough, my line also involves Aunt Dorothy because she was much like, early on the David Koechner character. She was very much the comedic relief, and she was great. And this is a line later in the movie because we find out that Oni is the grandmother, and she knows the lore of the Krampus because she actually interacted with the Krampus when she was a child and her parents got taken away. We knew right away that Oni was like, she had some inside information.
Oh, she was mystical from start one.
By the way, can I just, again, I do like this movie, but they should have kept her speaking her foreign language the entire time. The whole, like, she switches to English real quick. I mean, it was kind of funny when they're like, I knew she spoke English, but I was like, just let her, that was pretty cool. Like, only her grandson and her son could actually hear her. But, so this is from a moment with Aunt Dorothy reacting and Aunt Dorothy acting as her own translator.
What's she saying?
I'm not sure.
She says we're fucked. Because I'm old enough to know when life is coming at you with his pants down.
This more and more is sounding like a Damon Martin visit.
Oh my God. That like when she's like, what did she say? We're fucked. That's what she said. You know by the look on her face. It's not. She's not sharing with you good news. She's like, well, here's how you defeat the Krampus. No, she's not sharing that news with you.
Yeah. We're fucked.
And she's
Merry
like,
Christmas,
but how do
kids.
you? Because I'm old enough to know when life's coming at you with its pants down.
Excuse me.
That is a great analogy. Yeah, Aunt Dorothy. We didn't give her best performance. We don't do favorite character anymore. But if we had one, I think Aunt Dorothy would take the cake in this one.
Yeah, she would have been up there. That's classic favorite character business.
Yeah. So now, Patrick, our next category, we kind of switch it up because this is a special holiday episode. Instead of sequel, prequel, leave it alone, all those kind of remake, sequel, leave it alone, we always do. We're going to do a different one tonight. We're going to talk about what Krampus story would you like to see? Now, as we said, for a PG-13 Christmas movie, this movie does go kind of hard. But it's not hardcore. It's certainly not an R-rated movie, and it's certainly not too terrible for children to watch. But if you were going to make a Krampus story, which one would you like to see told?
I would probably go for something like an anti-hero crossover. So where Krampus is almost like Freddy versus Jason. If you imagine like from the robot from Christmas Bloody Christmas is now rampaging on this town, and they need to call Krampus in to save the day. Like it's a Freddy versus Jason situation where that Santa Claus is Freddy and they call in Jason to help battle him. I would like to see some sort of a very bloody, very gory, very like effects style heavy Krampus versus like Robo Santa type shit.
Okay, I can see that. A little different take. So I'm throwing this idea out there partially because I just watched this movie the other night, but it's also because I think it'd be tackling a little different way of getting into this. How about, I know you hate it. I know you hate found footage, but I'm going to say it. How about a found footage movie of a group of children who were haunted by the Krampus, or they think they were haunted by the Krampus as children, and they go on a hunt to find the Krampus.
I like that.
Dark, evil shit happens to them as they search for this mythical pagan creature. And I'm like, go on the hunt for the Krampus. These kids who all thought they were haunted by the Krampus as children, they want to find out, is he real? Is this actually just myth? Did we all experience the same phenomenon when we were children? And they go hunting for the Krampus. And it becomes, it doesn't have to be straight found footage, but I'm thinking, like, again, kind of a Blair Witch Project of these kids going to the North Pole or going to where, in Austria or wherever the story actually is supposed to take place.
Right, yeah.
They go to that town to hunt the Krampus.
I actually like something like that. There was a found footage movie that was very similar to that. But just the idea of not necessarily like it is found footage, but isn't. I don't know, it's almost like docu style. Like that could be something that could be fun.
Yeah, I think I like because when you read the Krampus lore, like the folklore, like it's dark. Like it's not. I mean, there's a lot of different versions out there, but there's a lot of versions that sound like a straight up horror film. So like, I think like if you're gonna twist it a little bit so it's not just like another Christmas movie, what if people tried to go hunting for the Krampus, and what happens when you fucking find him?
Yeah, what's the movie? It's like a Scandinavian movie, and the guy's looking for like giants in like the valleys.
I have no idea. I don't even know what that is.
Oh man, this is a pretty good. It's because it's not really a horror. It's just like kind of an adventure found footage.
I know the found footage. The one was a Jersey Devil or whatever it is. I only know that's the name of it. Where they go,
no,
that's not what you're talking about. Yeah, now you got me intrigued. You got to find out what this is. I'm curious what this is.
I got to find the title of it. But yeah, it's kind of like, but it could be something like that because you go out into those mystical worlds and you're documenting it all, and you can kind of only see it from one angle. It can be interesting. I wish I could just remember what the name of that movie was because it's very similar to that.
Yeah, but I just watched Blair Witch Project for like the 9,000th time the other night, and I was just like, this is the most effective found footage movie, along with Hell House LLC, the original one, which I absolutely adore. Blair Witch is just a phenomenally made found footage movie. And again, I know you're not a found footage fan, but if you inject that and you do it well, and you actually give people a reason to continue filming, like we need to capture the Krampus on film, so we're going to film all time. There's your reason to always be filming. You want to capture the Krampus on film. Like, I know that's one of the things you butt heads against the most with found footage. Is like, why do you keep filming?
Why are you rolling? Yeah.
You know, but that would give you an excuse. They want to capture the Krampus on film.
Yeah. No, I'd be into something like that.
Yeah, so, all right, Patrick, last category as we close out our Christmas holiday extravaganza. Is it scary? So, Patrick, when it comes to Krampus, and let's do this. Let's grade this on a scale.
Okay.
For a PG-13 horror film, is it scary?
Damon, for a PG-13 horror film, even for an R-rated horror film, this movie is scary on just one level. And it's that crazy fucking dour ending where Krampus, the bad guy, totally wins in a way that's more horrific than even killing is. It's like, it's a psychological horror that you're going to be trapped with him for eternity. To go hard and dark like that, it's a different kind of scary. It's back to Time Bandits. You wouldn't call that a scary movie, but that ending sucks for that kid. Like, it's a dour, bad ending for that kid. And that's what they give you here in Krampus. And I respect that. So on that level, I give it that kind of scary. Like, certainly you show this to a 6-year-old and they might just be like, so Krampus is going to trap me in a fucking glass ball forever? That sucks.
I mean, for a PG-13 movie and for a family Christmas PG-13 movie, it's pretty effective. Like, it's got a couple of jarring moments. It's
fucking razor tooth dolls and shit.
So surprisingly dark. And like I said, like the angel stabs Adam Scott. The one thing eats a child. The other child gets dragged up through the roof or through the chimney, and he actually gets dragged away. Like, it's got some pretty dark. And then of course the ending, what you said, is like the family's captured forever in this snow globe. It's pretty dark. So by that regard, it is pretty scary. Like, for that, again, I'm grading on a scale.
Yeah.
This was, if we're just doing our traditional, is it scary? No, it's not. But for what? All the ways that it surprised me and all the ways that I didn't see it coming and all the ways that I was like, I figured this out. Oh, maybe I didn't. Oh, I figured this out. Oh, no, I didn't. It worked. It's effective. And credit to Michael Dougherty and the other writers for not giving me the film that I thought I was going to get. And that also works to the whole is it scary part, because even in those moments, like, I thought Beth was going to get away. I thought the little kid getting dragged up the chimney was going to get away. I thought the weird twin girls were good. What? No, none of them get away. And then in the ending, none of them get away. Like, none of the entire family gets away. So it's a very dark movie, and that's scary.
It's like The Mist for kids' Christmas horror movies.
Yeah.
Like, it's that level of dour at the end. I mean, I just respect that shit. Yeah, is it going to be in my top big, lists of all time? No, but for Christmas horror, that shit goes hard.
It reminds me, there was like a lot of controversy when this came out in 1984. We've talked about on the show, of course, the original Nightmare on Elm Street, where the ending is that, Nancy defeats Freddy, and then she goes outside her door to go away for school, and then Freddy pulls her mother through the door, and then she gets in the car with her friends, and the top comes up and it's painted with the red and green stripes of Freddy's sweater. And you're like, a lot of people are like, what the fuck? Like, didn't you just kill Freddy? Like, what? And then, it kind of ends on like a, is she in the dream, where you see the children.
Yeah.
Like, 1, 2. And it's a very dark ending. You're like, oh, we defeated Freddy. Oh, actually, no, the fuck you didn't. Kind of like that. Like, it's kind of like where you think when she's like, I woke up from a dream and everyone's in great moods. And they're exchanging presents and everything. I was like, here we go. This is the fucking ending that I thought they were going to give me. And then when you find out they're trapped in the snow globe, presumably forever, that's pretty dark. Like, that's pretty
like, oh, that's dark.
Yeah, so that's real dark.
Yeah.
All right, folks, that is our special Christmas episode of Rewind to the Living Dead. We obviously want to wish everyone a very happy holiday, whatever you celebrate, or if you don't celebrate, because I'm not a big celebrator myself. I am actually this year, Patrick, legitimately excited for Christmas Day, but not because I'm going to get a present and not because I actually have the day off, which I do. It's because Christmas night I will be plunked down in a theater seat watching Nosferatu, which is our next review.
Yes. Christmas comes 1 week late because goddamn Robert Eggers. Anyway, you will hear us talking about Nosferatu right at the very next episode. So stay tuned for what could be some of the best horror of the the entire year. We'll see. I don't want to hype it up too much, Damon, but I'm excited.
I'm going to throw this out there. I'll probably mention on next week's episode as well, but I'm going to throw this out there. We always talk about the theater experience. I, as a member of the Writers Guild, I get screeners around around award time. Awards are coming. We get to vote as the WGA. We get to vote on awards. So they send us a ton of screeners at the end of the year. The movies that you all know are going to get nominated, like A Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan story, or a Nora, which we've talked about briefly on this show. I get all those. I got a screener like 5 days ago for Nosferatu. And I texted you and I was like, oh my God, how can I resist doing this? And I was going to watch it. I was like, I can't wait. I got a screener. I want to see it early. And you're like, dude, you want that theater experience. And I was like, you know what? You're right. So I'm going to stick it out. I'm not going to see it. I'm not going to watch my screener. I'm going to wait till Christmas night to go see Nosferatu in the theater. And then, yes, I will watch it at home after that. But for now, you were right. 1,000% correct. I want to experience it in the theater. So Christmas night, Christmas comes late for us, I guess. We are going to go see Nosferatu, and that, of course, is going to be our next review.
Damon, welcome to the Cinebro Club.
Yeah. With that being said, we want to say a big thank you to everyone that tunes in the show each and every week. If you want to check us out on all your favorite podcast platforms, you can do so. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Over on our website, of course, rewindofthelivingdead.com. You can also get all your horror news, which this past week has been like fucking Scream casting week. Like every other story over there is like, this person's in Scream 7 and this person's in Scream 7. I'm like, Jesus Christ, can you just make one announcement with all these people? So right now you'll see a whole lot of Scream 7 stories over there. But you want news, you want trailers. The 28 Years Later trailer came out recently. That's over there. So check out rewindofthelivingdead.com, of course. And you can also find us on our YouTube channel. Just search Rewind of the Living Dead. And I say this all the time, and I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat myself. Even if you don't watch us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. It makes a huge difference for us in terms of search results, the algorithm. So even if you don't want to watch us on YouTube or listen to us on YouTube, just subscribe to us on YouTube. It means the world to us. So check us out over there. You got questions, comments, movies you'd like us to review. What are your thoughts on Krampus? Were you shocked by how dark this movie was? Send us emails. We love hearing from you guys that way. ROT, livingdead@gmail.com. That's livingdead@gmail.com. There's actually also a contact page on rewindofthelivingdead.com. I've actually gotten a few messages from people over there. So if you do want to reach us there, you can actually hit us on the contact button over there. It goes directly to me. So, yeah, please send us those messages as well. And you can also find us on our own individual. Oh, you can find us, of course, on all of our social media channels. I forgot to mention that. Just search Rewind of the Living Dead on Twitter /X, Instagram, Facebook, any of those. We'd love to hear from you guys over there as well. So reach out to us there. And you can also find us on our own personal social media channels. I am at Damon Martin, and you are?
At Director Patrick.
And as always, we want to say a big thank you to everyone that tunes into the show each and every week. We got Nosferatu, and then, of course, we're going to be doing our best of 2024 episodes, so stay tuned for that. As always, a thank you for tuning in to Rewind of the Living Dead. We'll see you then. Thanks for tuning in.
Peace.